America great again. Make America great again. Everybody, yeah, make America great again. I know you did. Make America great again.
Los Angeles County Election Integrity Project California is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization of volunteers who actively defend the integrity of elections through advocacy, education, and research to ensure that each lawfully cast vote is counted and counted fairly. Jen spent the 2022 year instructing over 100 observer training classes and is now volunteering at the corporate level with EIPCA. She will be speaking about what EIPCA has done and is currently doing for the election process, way to make your voice heard regarding current legislation, and how to be prepared for the 2024 primary. Let's give a warm welcome to Jen Cardenas. Where is she? Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. Thank you. Sheba, do you want this? Oh, sure. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you guys so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, perfect. No? One second, let me adjust. How about now?
You gotta make yourself shorter.
Yes. How's this? Everybody can hear me okay? Okay. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here today. There's a lot we're going to talk about, a lot of information I'm going to share with you, as well as some information just from news across the nation. All of it will be coming to you from a nonpartisan organization. I'll just say I'll report it, you guys decide. So with that, let's take a moment before we get started and think back to 2020. Everybody remembers specifically that election in November. It really was an awakening for a lot of people, not just for our elections here in California, but across the nation. Over the past almost 3 years now, it really has been an emotional roller coaster, to say the least, with more evidence coming out, more information being brought to light, and then to be turned down or not heard by courts or the media. But again, we think back to stuff like 2020 with the suitcases being rolled out. We remember all the ballot stuffing with 2,000 mules. Election cases such as Carrie Lake, right? We've all seen that really fast and speedy signature verification process. There's also recent like Mike Lindell events and all the information coming out with all the light being shed on the internet connections to the voting process, right? There's a lot of it coming out. And what it's doing is two things. Number one, it's showing that more people across the nation are waking up. And number two, it's showing that we're not giving up. And that is exactly what Election Integrity Project California is doing. Election Integrity Project California is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization committed to defending, through education, advocacy, and research, the civil rights of U.S. citizens to fully participate in the election process under federal and state law. Many people don't know that EIPCA is like a little hidden secret in California because there's not a lot of media on us. But EIPCA was actually co-founded by our president, Linda Payne, back in 2010. So we've been around for a very long time, 13 years. And with her and our Vice President, Ruth Weiss, have worked tremendously hard to really, with our state teams, to ensure that we always are defending and restoring election integrity to our elections here in California. EIPCA, one thing I really love is EIPCA is an all-volunteer organization. Nobody takes a penny, all the way from Linda all the way down to every single observer. We all do it because we love our country and because we want to see really just fair, honest, transparent elections brought back. That would be very exciting, right?
Wow,
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yes. So, Election Integrity Project has 3 main volunteer programs. I'm going to mention each one, and then we're going to get into what you guys can all do, and really in taking back America. So number 1 is our Volunteer Observer Program. EIPCA has trained and deployed more than 20,000 nonpartisan observers in 43 counties since 2012. That equals out to representing about 85% of California in our observer documentation. Which brings me to one of my favorite things about EIPCA is that our observer documentation, our incident reports, are signed under penalty of perjury. So in the state of California, that becomes actionable documentation. Whereas there may be another group or an individual out there who says, hey, I heard, this happened, or I saw this happen at the polls, just let me know, send me an email, fill out an online form. But if it's not signed under penalty of perjury, in the courts, it's just considered hearsay. That's very important to note. And just to demonstrate how important our observer documentation has been is that it was very instrumental in a case in Arizona regarding one of their anti-ballot harvesting laws. This was in 2021. What happened was a group filed for an anti-ballot harvesting law. Immediately it was challenged, went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. At that point, EIPCA had a lot of research and documentation regarding the damage to the election systems because of ballot harvesting. Does anybody know what year ballot harvesting was legalized in California? Close. Before. It was 2016. And does anybody know what governor signed it into law?
Gavin Newsom?
Jerry Brown.
Jerry Brown, correct.
Jerry Brown.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't governor yet.
Yeah.
That's right.
So our documentation at that point, we were able to share an amicus brief or friend of the court with the U.S. Supreme Court. This was filed with our attorney, Mark O'Neill of Landmark Legal Foundation. The U.S. Supreme Court went ahead and ruled in favor that Arizona could keep their ballot harvesting laws because, and they went on further to say that every state should have this law because ballot harvesting is a threat to election integrity. So I'm going to talk about our second program right now, which is our legislative team. We have a couple people here, Judy and Andy, who are also a part of our EIPCA. Judy, and then Andy's right here in front. We work with a whole team at the corporate level. We help to research upcoming or proposed bills with the California Assembly and the Senate. Once we research them, we decide on which bills that we're going to follow. We write letters of support or opposition. We attend committee hearings and we share this information with the public so that they too can make their voices heard. But what's crazy to think is that we're in 2023 and all the way back to 2014. At that point, almost 10 years ago, EIPCA's research was already showing that California's election process was becoming easy to manipulate by those who knew how to exploit the vulnerabilities of the system. And this is where I'll insert this document, which is on the website. I highly recommend everyone downloading it. It's called the Golden State Agenda. It's excellent, right? It's a breakdown of like just 20 plus years of all the big election laws, policies, and procedures that have passed. And a lot of it has happened while a lot of people were asleep. So I think now that there are more people are awake are going, wait a minute, that all happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I'm going to mention a few right now. In 2014, California began issuing driver's license to non-citizens. 1 year later, in 2015, voter registration becomes automatic through the DMV. 2016, California started implementing and became a part of the Voters' Choice Act. Does everybody know what the Voters' Choice Act is? Okay, you do one. Okay, so LA County is a part of the Voters' Choice Act, which means that we no longer have polling locations, we now have voting centers. Additionally, you no longer have to vote at your home precinct. You can vote anywhere in the county. So say you live in the South Bay, you could go vote in Palmdale or Lancaster, you're still in LA County. Additionally, you no longer have one single day election day, you have 11 fun-filled election days. So that's part of the Voters' Choice Act as well. 2017, I'm just gonna throw this out one because why not? 2017, you no longer have to state your name and address, you just now need to provide name and address. Makes you wonder. Okay, and then in 2020, under the COVID restrictions, they implemented that every voter in the state would receive a mail-in ballot, right? So, and as you remember, everyone was told that they're safe and they're secure and they're convenient, right? Right, so they may be convenient, but they are anything but safe and secure. And to that point, two presidential commissions, one in 2002 and one in 2005, and the one specifically in 2005 was co-chaired by former President Jimmy Carter, as well as former Secretary of State James Baker III. They both determined that vote by mail ballots do not satisfy the essential criteria for sound and honest elections because they found that mail-in votes do not assure privacy, mail-in votes do not verify that only duly registered voters cast ballots, they do not safeguard ballots against loss or alteration, they do not assure prompt counting, because we know in LA you have 30 days to, or in the state of California, you have 30 days to certify an election. And again, they do not foster the communal aspect of citizens voting together. So, what does California do? 1 year later, they make it permanent in the state of California that from then on, everyone will receive a mail-in ballot. If you're wondering the best way to vote, I know we've heard information about the risks, the potential loss, manipulation, damage with the mail-in ballots, and there are risks with the in-person vote. But EIPCA's research still shows that after all this, voting in person is the safest way to vote, the best way to vote, as well as voting on election day or as close to election day as possible, and overwhelming the system.
Yeah, Arizona, they excluded everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, the day, yes.
And part of the voting on election day is that you're overwhelming the system.
Yeah.
So that's the upside.
Maybe the day before now that we know that the last day they're going to do that. They know that we're going to wait the last day, so they're going to screw our machines that day. Yeah. So maybe the day before.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe the day before the election day. Yeah, or 3 days. Yeah, he's like 3 days just to be sure. Yeah, 3 days just to be sure.
So our third group is the data analysis research team. Since 2011, EIPCA and their research team has been creating findings reports of the voter rolls and have been sharing them with our California Secretary of State and Registrar of Voters. But in all those years of sending out these findings reports, how many elections officials do you think actually looked at the reports?
None, probably.
One. And do you know how we know? Because the files are encrypted, and in order to open them, they have to call a phone number to get a password. And one official called.
You like a pedophile! Sorry, that's okay.
And so the reason why is because there's no law that says you actually have to do anything, right? So there's nothing that requires them, even if you could prove there were many people that had moved, etc. They're not required to look at them. So in 2016, EIPCA went public with their voter roll findings. Right afterwards, Judicial Watch reached out, and EIPCA retained Judicial Watch in their NVRA lawsuit, which is a National Voter Registration Act lawsuit against the California Secretary of State and the Los Angeles County Registrar of Voters. I'm sure you guys all know it resulted in a big win in 2019, where LA County was ordered to remove 1.5 million obsolete voters from the voter rolls. So a huge win, another huge win. And I'll mention, thank you, the following year in 2020, as we remember, a big election year, I want to mention a couple things is that EIPCA kept analyzing this data And sounding the alarm, EIPCA sent several letters to our California Secretary of State and several counties' registrar of voters, just letting them know there were mass irregularities, inactive, and duplicate voters, yet nothing was done prior to the 2020 election. So I'm going to read something from the website here that I find very important. Linda Payne, our president, sent a letter to the California Secretary of State Shirley Weber in June of 2021 asking these few questions. Number one, why are there almost 124,000 more votes counted in California's November 3rd, 2020 election than voters recorded voted in that election? Right? Number two, why do more than 7,700 voters have two November 3rd, 2020 votes credited to their voting histories? Why does California, this is number three, why does California have 1.8 million more registered voters than eligible citizens? And why did this override 72% in the 2020 election cycle? Big question. And number four, why did California's online and DMV registration change 33,000 foreign-born voters' birthplaces of record to California or United States, potentially masking non-citizens unlawfully registered to vote? Big questions, right? So Linda Payne went on, and she was quoted saying that many in the nation are questioning the validity of the 2020 general election in their states. Mass irregularities in California's registration and voting numbers continue to erode voter confidence, and we are hopeful that Secretary Weber will immediately address our questions. Do you think they were answered?
Probably not.
Unfortunately, they were not. So as you can see, the issue really is voter corruption. I'm sorry. Let me stop. The issue is election corruption. And as you can see after reading, and once you do read and understand further the Golden State Agenda, you will see that how all of these laws are intertwined, and you can't just change one law because they're all tied together. It's kind of like, I always picture, like imagine like a rubber band ball, right? You remember those growing up? You can't just take one rubber band out, they're all tied together. And that's kind of like our elections here in California, the whole process. So now that we're at a point where we can all see it and we're awake, and you guys, many people out there are all putting out fires across not only the nation, the state, the counties, right? Because we're all dealing with elected officials and bureaucrats they appoint. This is where EIPCA is working on taking out the arsonist being the ballot box. So let's talk about our two big current court cases. Number one is in Ventura County. This is a very big case in that it has to do with observer rights, and that Ventura County has a history of severe violation of observer rights found in California Election Code 15104. For example, putting random limitations on observers that contradict observer rights. This lawsuit would hold them accountable to following the law. We're excited and optimistic and hopeful to hear from the judge soon. The other lawsuit is a very big federal lawsuit. It's the first ever of its kind in the history of the United States, in that it is a constitutional challenge of 20 plus election laws and numerous policies and procedures. It's massive. I'm going to read just a quick update, which is that the Ninth Circuit granted standing to EIPCA last fall, and the case was sent back to the court to begin discovery. In May of this year, the defendants filed motion to dismiss our case, and the judge did go on to rule to dismiss it. EIPCA immediately sent an intent to appeal with the Ninth Circuit, and our attorneys filed to expedite the Ninth Circuit process. On September 14th of 2023, just recently, the Ninth Circuit ruled not only to expedite the process, but also said there would be no extension or changing of the dates. This is really big and good news. The briefs were just submitted yesterday on September 29th, and this is good. Throughout this process, Election Integrity Project California is hopeful to be back in the courts and back into discovery by the top of 2024. So, very big. So, very exciting. Here's what you all can do. There's a lot, so bear with me. First of all, sign up for our newsletter at eip-ca.com. Great stuff, right? There's really good information. You'll get updates on the lawsuit. There's great articles written by our writing team, as well as just great news from around the world, election integrity news from the nation and the world. There are also action items that we will send out. I don't know right now as far as how many more there's still coming, but as you know, everything right now is seeming to ending up on the governor's desk. So if you guys don't know this, but you have 12 days to act after your bill goes to the governor. So the governor has 12 days to sign, approve without signing, or veto a bill. So that gives you all time, whether it's an election bill or any bill that you're fighting for. You can still make a phone call or write a letter or email to the governor's office. Just want to share that information because it's good to know that you have those 12 days. As we near 2024, you all as citizens all have the right to observe. Election code 2300 all gives you right to be there to observe. So on our website there is a lot of information as far as observing, laws, regulations, how to observe, and as we get closer to 2024 we're going to be putting out more information to educate citizens on the proper ways to observe, because there is a proper way to do it that's polite and professional and not I'll just say like bull in a china shop. But there is a proper way to do it. And if you're wondering, yes, your presence does make a huge difference. Without you there or without people there observing, so much goes unseen. And I will say from my own personal experience, observing not too far back, I was not only shown the internet routers, but I was shown how they are connected to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So this is all because I was there that I was able to see this. So a reason for everyone to observe. Also really importantly, I will say keep helping and sharing information, especially as people are waking up. Help each other. That's really important. There's a lot of stuff, information you can all share. I'm going to say 3 things right now that have really helped me. I'm going to break them down. Number 1 is know your rights. The Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights outlines and is there to protect your natural rights. I just want to mention these because I find these like inspiring when you're having a down day. So we're just going to start with the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, because it states that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. I bring this up because we the people established and ordained the Constitution. We are the ones that created the federal government, gave it permission to exist, and told it exactly what it had permission to do. Therefore, remember, the creation cannot trump the Creator. And an article from the National Constitution Center states that the Declaration, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights are based on the idea that people have certain fundamental rights that governments are created to protect. Those rights include common law rights, which come from British sources like the Magna Carta, or natural rights, which the founders believed came from God. The founders believed that natural rights are inherent in all people by virtue of them being human, and these certain rights are unalienable, meaning they cannot be surrendered to government under any circumstance. Yes. In another article I just want to say I found in the Washington Standard says that our rights do not come from the first 10 amendments. They do not come from the Constitution as interpreted by federal judges, and they do not come from Congress. Thus, when we say our rights come from the Constitution, we are, in effect, agreeing to the submission of our rights to the tender mercies of federal judges. Because Article 3, Section 2, Clause 1 gives them the power of all cases arising under the Constitution, which is why we must remember our natural laws. Question: has everyone here read the second Declaration of Independence that was signed on July 4th of 2020? Anyone? Well worth a read. Go look it up. Second Declaration of Independence, signed on July 4th of 2020. Okay, so number 2, keep researching. Know what's going on around the nation. In terms of election integrity, learn what's going on, lawsuits, all the details. I'm just going to give you an example right now. Everyone here has probably already heard about the Department of Justice indicting Smartmatic on a grand jury. Okay, this was in regarding to evidence being brought forward of hold on one second, accepting bribes in violation of U.S. money laundering statutes. I'm going to read a couple things. According to yournews.com, the money was to influence the awarding of contracts for Smartmatic-equipped devices that have been proven to alter election results, specifically for rigging elections in the Philippines. The article went on to say that the operating system inside is Smartmatic software, and whether you buy Dominion, HART, or ES&S, the operating system inside is Smartmatic Election Systems, also known as the General Election Management System. So that's really important to know. No matter which of those companies they were to do business with, it's all Smartmatic, according to this article. So number 3, I'll wrap it up here, is that there's laws and cases to pay attention to. And while we're speaking about grand juries, the 16th American Jurisprudence, second edition, section 177 states that the authority of the grand jury is found only in the Bill of Rights. Therefore, it comes from God and not government. Amendment 5, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury. And within the same section regarding judges, it states that all judges are bound by oath and law. I've also come across a case in terms of Cooper versus Aaron in 1958, which states that any judge who does not comply with his oath to the Constitution of the United States wars against that Constitution and engages in acts of violation of the supreme law of the land. The judge is engaged in acts of treason. Furthermore, within the Department of Justice Prosecution of Election Offenses Manual, this is one that I highly recommend. If everyone here is into election integrity, download this manual. It's 240 pages. It's a light read. Yeah, real easy. Kidding. But there's so much in there regarding election laws, statutes, regulations, etc. So much. I highly recommend reading it. For example, 18 U.S. Code Section 241, 242, which is deprivation of rights. Highly recommend it. Again, if you guys want to know, it's the Department of Justice website, and it is Federal Prosecution of Election Offenses. And then also one more thing to mention is that don't forget there is still the Executive Order 13848, which was just extended, correct, by Biden. This is the notice on continuation. Yep. Notice on continuation of the national emergency with respect to foreign interference in or undermining public confidence in United States elections. Right? So these are all big things, good things to focus on. And remember your rights. So I'm going to leave you with one thing that I really, a quote that I really like. I found very interesting recently. So Thomas Jefferson, this is a quote from Thomas Jefferson in 1784 in his notes on the state of Virginia. Our rulers will become corrupt, our people careless. The time for fixing every essential right on a legal basis is now, while our rulers are honest and ourselves united. It will not then be necessary to resort to every moment to the people for support. They will be forgotten, therefore, and their rights disregarded. They will forget themselves in the sole faculty of making money, and will never think of uniting to effect a due respect for their rights. The shackles, therefore, which shall not be knocked off at the conclusion of this war, will remain on us long, will be made heavier and heavier, till our rights shall revive or expire in a convulsion. Here we are, almost 240 years later. While we are all aware of the challenges that we have been and are currently facing, especially after so many people have been asleep and so many people now are awake, I ask you to think about all we've talked about today and what you have all endured and what everyone has endured over the past 3 years. You've made it this far. Let's keep going, uncovering hidden truths, reviving our rights, and never giving up. So God bless you all, and God bless America.
Voter IDs and races. We submit. Voter IDs. Voter IDs and races. I know that's your IQ, ladies. Sorry that you're so stupid. We submit. Voter IDs. Voter IDs and races. 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 It's actually racist to say black and brown people are too stupid to get one. That's really racist. Very bigoted. We demand one-day voting. We demand one-day voting. We demand one-day voting. We demand one-day voting. We demand voter integrity. We demand one-day voting. We demand voter integrity. We demand one-day voting. We demand voter integrity. We demand voter rights. Voter rights. First they enslaved the indigenous people and the black people, and now they want to enslave us all.
Everybody.
Yes. Yep. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. God bless. God bless.
Free Ed Medallion.
Free Ed Medallion. Release our friend Eric Christie. Free the January. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand one-day voting. We demand voter integrity. 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 We want to know that our votes count. And in California, they made all these silly rules to take away our rights. They're giving illegal aliens a license to drive, which gives them a license to vote. I'm sorry, but if you did not become a citizen, you should not be voting in our country. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. I'm not voting in other people's countries because I'm not disrespecting other people's countries. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID.
They break into their country and No wonder their names are demo rats. That's what they should be called. Demon rats. That's what they are. They serve the devil because they destroy our country. They are letting an invasion happening at the border. 20,000 people are marching over our borders from countries like Venezuela and our borders, and they're letting out their prisoners and letting them into America.
Trump 24!
We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID. We demand paper ballots. We demand voter ID. We demand all of these things. Elections is rigged on national TV on the ticker tape. When they took Trump and gave it to Daisy Biden. And they also did it to Larry Elder, a black man, by the way. And for governor, they took Larry Elder and gave it to Devin Mussolini. We are tired of these people. Voter ID. Voter ID is racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist.
I like the shirt, brother. Thank you. I'm an engineer.
Yes, I know that's your IQ, buddy. Show your IQ again, buddy. Show your IQ. There it is. There's your IQ. And so classy, too. Aren't they a class act? They're a very lovely fun. Seriously. Yeah, here. Oh, you got two brain cells. Thank you so much. 2 brain cells in your head. Good job. Yes, voter ID is not racist. Anybody with darker skin that didn't have an ID. I'm just saying, okay? But the Democrats are the racists. Amen. They were the part of the slavery. They didn't want to abolish slavery. They were the ones, like Andrew Jackson was the one that messed with the indigenous people and killed them and wanted to segregate them. And that was the Democrats. Look up you don't know your history, lady. You got indoctrinated by your school. Yes, learn history. Yes, learn history. Andrew Jackson and Obama were the ones taking away the land from the indigenous people. Obama did it under the Antiquities Act. And he wouldn't even fix the water in Flint, Michigan. He said just use a filter. I mean, this guy was so evil, but just because he had darker skin, people bowed down to him. Just like Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood was started by a racist eugenist that wanted to eliminate the blacks, the Jews, and the Slavs. You guys got to know your history, because people do not know their history because they've been brainwashed by the big pharma-funded corporate government-run media and the indoctrination centers. These colleges are not teaching you any true history. Seriously, go to wall builders in Texas. Learn your real history. See the writings of the founding fathers rather than these bogus history books.
That was that have no teeth that want to tell you about yourself.
I know. The Democrats are the racist ones. God bless you. Yes, I mean, seriously, look at the history of the Democrat Party. The history is they did not want to abolish slavery. They didn't want to abolish slavery. They were the ones that were the terrible ones to the indigenous people. Obama sold their land during using the Antiquities Act to do so. He isn't racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. Even in Mexico, you need an ID to vote. We say that they are so corrupt. We're so more corrupt in California than Mexico. voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. We demand 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 one day voting. We demand one day voting. We demand one day voting. We demand one day honesty. No, honesty. All of this is for cheating. That's why the desperate dicks will do anything. They don't want criminals to vote. They want 16-year-olds to vote. He signed what was called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, where it legalized propaganda. It legalized joint state actors, and it legalized him and every one of their thugs to lie to the public. They were allowed to lie to you. Look up the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act if you don't believe me. Read it. Read it.
Biden administration lies.
Yes, just because someone has darker skin doesn't mean that they care about their own black color, okay? Look at what Margaret Sanger did. She hired black ministers to tell women to kill their own babies. And it was all for population control. They wanted to get rid of the blacks, the Jews, and the Slavs. So that's how Planned Parenthood was started, to eliminate the blacks, the Jews, and the Slavs. Know your history, folks.
Right over to
Know your history. Yeah, so the Democrats are always been the way to run. When you're doing something, pull out. That person. And that's what the Democrats are. They're the racist. They're the bigots. They're the ones that killed a lot of the during HIV, that lets them get early treatment.
Why are they doing ABC during the 1980s? Voter ID is not racist. We demand voter ID.
Voter ID is not racist.
We demand voter ID. Voter ID is not racist.
We demand one-day voting. We demand paper ballots.
Yes, paper ballots. It's paper ballots.
One-day voting. No longer harvesting. No Smartmatic software where it can hack and take away our votes. We saw this on national television on the ticker tape at the bottom where Trump votes were given to Biden. They said it was just a glitch. Yeah, it was just a glitch, sure. No, it's called fraud, and these people should have gone to jail for doing so. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. We demand voter ID. God bless you, lady. Racist. We demand one-day voting. We demand paper ballots. We demand no Smartmatic software.
Let's go,
No.
Brandon.
Let's go, 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 Brandon. Beijing Biden. Beijing Biden. Build that backwards. America last. That's what a lot of people voted for. Beijing Biden. Build that backwards.
Ukraine
America
first.
last.
Ukraine first.
Ukraine first. China first. Russia first. America last. Beijing Biden. Build back backwards. You know, let's sell out our energy to everybody else and then say, oh, we care about the carbon footprint. Well, let's see. Does it take more carbon footprint to have our own energy or to transport it? Let's let these people use their brain for once. You must, because you're selling your country out down the road. We have a right to sovereignty in our country. We have a right to it. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. God bless you. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. We demand voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist. Paper ballot. That's what we want. Paper ballot. That's what we want. That's what we want. Voter ID. Voter ID isn't racist.
Paper ballots. Paper
Paper
ballots.
ballots. No Smartmatic software that can be hacked. We are what happened in God's trust? You don't see us flicking people off. That's the left. They're the hateful ones. on because they hate themselves. That's what happens if you tell someone that they're a mistake, and especially our children, you make them hate themselves or they hate others. So that's what we're teaching. We're teaching jealousy and hate. We should not teach children jealousy and hate. We should teach them that they're not a mistake. Children are not a mistake. USA! 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 We love Trump! 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 USA!
We love Trump! USA!
We love Trump! USA!
We love Trump! USA! We love Trump!
USA!
We love Trump!
We demand voter ID! Voter ID isn't racist! 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 We demand one-day balloting! We demand paper ballots! We want to get rid of voter harvesting!
4 more years.
Yes! The invasion is against Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution. The Biden regime is aiding and abetting for invasion. And yes, we paid for it, you the taxpayers. So if you want to know why there's high inflation, number one, Biden cut off our energy independence on day one when he got into office.